Good afternoon. I'm Kathryne Gardette coming to you live from Cafe Vivace, where I am joined by my triplet. There are three of us called the Walnut Hills triplets, all born on July 9th, and my good friend Gary Dangel.
Hi, Kat.
Hello. So Gary is unique in this conversation about food access. I remember meeting Gary many years ago, and he was in the year of volunteer in his community. And from that year of volunteer has sprouted literally how Gary is within Walnut Hills today. Give us a little background of that year and how it's evolved.
Yeah, so I'm a 40-year resident of Walnut Hills, but about 6 years ago I decided to really become involved in what was happening here. And I noticed that there were a lot of vacant lots in Walnut Hills where houses or buildings had been knocked down, and a lot of times they were blighted. They were dump sites. There was usually some bad activity going on there that wasn't really positive for the neighborhood. And so I worked with a lot of organizations like Keep Cincinnati Beautiful and Lowe's Heroes, and to take these lots and clean them up and turn them into growing spaces for the most part. Primarily, Frederick Douglass Elementary School Garden is an example of that, where a lot of organizations came together to take something that was a negative asset for the neighborhood and turn it into a positive where we could grow food. And then connect kids to where real food comes from.
I love the Douglass Garden. It is one where your small worlds come together because Chef at the Duke Energy Convention Center actually comes out to the garden and cooks a meal from the garden, but the kids also get to go down to the Duke Energy Convention Center and have that experience. So that's one aspect. So when we talk about food access with Gary, we're talking about the whole aspect of food access. And I know that you've been very strategic with gardens and funding with those gardens. Give us a little insight of what's coming down in 2020 in the garden space.
Yeah, so now we have 6 years into this project. We have 7 gardens that are growing food in Walnut Hills. 2 of them are foraging forests, so for people that are food insecure, the gardens are open. They can walk through, pick fruit off the trees, and veggies, berry bushes. We're starting to grow some flowers. So the idea is nobody goes hungry in Walnut Hills, that there's access to food. Every garden's different and has a different purpose, from a school garden to a foraging forest. And then some of them are just, not just, but they're community gardens where people get to come out on the weekend and grow food together. So there's a kind of a communal thing that happens there where you get to know your neighbor, and sometimes it's a neighbor that you don't live on the same street and would never know them otherwise, but just by growing food together, you build these friendships, and it tends to tighten the fabric of the neighborhood. So it makes it beyond just that you're growing healthy food and you have food to feed your family with. You also are growing these friendships, which is rather beautiful.
There is a statement about if you get your hands dirty with someone, you're connected for life. And that's really true in the garden space, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's, across from Cafe Vivace is the closed Kroger building. And so we talk about grocery stores and us being a food desert. How are you working to facilitate a grocery store coming to the community?
Yeah, this is what I've spent the last 3 years of my work at the Walnut Hills Redevelopment Foundation doing, and coming in, I thought it would be difficult but doable. And 3 years in, we still do not have a grocery store. I've talked to a lot of people and recruited, tried to recruit everybody that I could think of, and we have positive things that are happening. So we're inching our way in that direction with nothing really to announce. But it's something that's going to have to be different, I think. The traditional grocery model, the big box grocery store, is, probably not. If it is going to be the thing, it'll take a special operator. But we're also, whatever we do, needs to be like what's going to be right for the next 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. And then on top of that, the calculus gets real interesting because it's a changing demographic neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we did in 2019, Hale Foundation funded Food Forest. If you saw Dave talk about that in the previous video, And Food Force is interesting because what it allows to happen is someone that doesn't have a car can stay in the neighborhood, order their groceries with an app on their phone. The food is delivered to their door for free, and if they're a SNAP card user, that card is accepted. And if you're buying fresh produce, you can get a dollar for dollar match up to $20 courtesy of Produce Perks Midwest. So this is a fantastic deal. You can get $40 worth of produce for $20 and it comes right to your door. So we're gonna, so Dave's been playing that out. He's been adding, he's up to maybe 8,000 products now you can order. And adding to that, this year we're gonna do a kind of a hybrid community-supported agriculture model where people can order food that we grow in Walnut Hills, harvested that morning. The Food Forest truck comes by, picks up the boxes that are all packaged up for people, and drives it directly to their house. So hyper-local, hyper-fresh produce. This is something that you can't get anywhere else, to be a half hour from being picked off the vine and grown by somebody right in your neighborhood. So we're hoping that that's something that is well received here, and that the more people purchase of that, the more pieces of property we can get, the more gardens we can start, the more food we can grow.
That's excellent. So that CSA is happening, but I also know that on Fridays there's a purchasing project that happens with food. Tell us about that and where it is and the timing.
Right. So right when the Kroger closed, and this was March of 2017, so coming up on 3 years ago, Freestore Food Bank, their Healthy Harvest mobile market, came in immediately and they set up shop. They have a pickup truck with a trailer on the back, and I always call that trailer like the grocery aisle in a truck. So you can come in and buy fresh produce. They also have grains and eggs and spices and oils and that sort of thing. So in particular, if you're a vegetarian, you could buy your food on Friday between 1 and 3 in the former Kroger parking lot out of Healthy Harvest Mobile Market, and have enough food to make healthy meals for your family all weekend.
I have seen pictures of the produce that has been purchased by vegetarians. So we've talked today from Susie at La Soupe, Tia with the Queen City Kitchen, Dave at the Food Forest, and Gary, who is just a community food access person. There is innovation, there is forward movement going for food in Walnut Hills. And as everyone has said, Walnut Hills is a food desert, and because we're a food desert, Soapbox Media has received an on-the-ground grant to assist us in finding out what produce needs to be purchased in our community by our people. So I want you to text HELLO to 513-230-6899, 513-230-6899. Help us know what we need to purchase in our neighborhood because you would buy it. It's Kathryne Gardette. I've been coming to you live today from Cafe Vivace, talking about food access with SoapboxMedia.com, sponsored by a Facebook Journalism Project grant. Have a wonderful week until next.